Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the surprisingly rich, gentle, and utterly fascinating history of something you probably don't give a second thought to: the humble umbrella. Imagine, if you will, the gentle patter of rain on a distant roof, or the warm, unblinking glare of a summer sun beating down. You're walking along a dusty path centuries ago, perhaps in ancient China, and overhead, someone glides past, shielded not by a flimsy plastic dome, but by an exquisite canopy of silk, shimmering with embroidered dragons or delicate blossoms. This wasn't just about staying dry or avoiding a sunburn. Oh no, this was a statement. This was a symbol. This was, in its own quiet way, a revolution. And you, my friend, probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes in that sun without one. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now, down in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Our story begins not with rain, but with sun, and deep in the heart of ancient China. You might picture the earliest umbrellas as merely practical devices, simple coverings against the elements. But the truth is far more intriguing. The very first iteration, known as a parasol, was primarily a sunshade. It was an emblem of status, a mark of distinction, a way for the elite to literally stand above the common folk. Imagine yourself as an attendant in a grand procession, meticulously holding a vast, intricate parasol over the head of an emperor or a high ranking noble. This wasn't a casual task, it was an act of profound respect and duty. The larger and more ornate the parasol, the greater the importance of the person it shielded. These early designs were often made from luxurious materials like silk, paper, and sometimes even feathers stretched over delicate bamboo frames. They were often adorned with incredible artistry, painted landscapes, mythological creatures, or intricate geometric patterns. You weren't just protecting someone from UV rays, you were performing a mobile, majestic display of power and wealth. One mainstream historical fact that often surprises people is that evidence of parasols in China dates back as far as the 4th century BCE, with some historians even pushing that timeline further back based on archaeological finds and ancient texts. For instance, the tomb of Wang Meng, a usurper emperor of the Han Dynasty, contained a stone carving that clearly depicts a collapsible parasol. This wasn't just a fixed sunshade, it was designed to open and close, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of mechanics even then. It's almost as if they looked at a mushroom and thought, hmm, how can we make that portable and really, really fancy? Now, for a quirky tidbit, some early Chinese parasols were so large and heavy they required multiple attendants to carry them. Can you imagine showing up to a garden party needing a small entourage just to hold your shade? Excuse me, could you move your personal sun blockage team? I can't see the koi pond. It adds a certain weight, pun intended, to the idea of social climbing. These weren't exactly spontaneous accessories you'd grab on your way out the door. They were planned, orchestrated, parts of an elaborate public display. You'd certainly think twice about leaving it behind at the local tea house. Historians still argue whether the invention of the collapsible umbrella was truly a singular Chinese innovation, or if similar concepts emerged independently in other ancient cultures. While China has the earliest definitive evidence, the idea of a portable, expanding canopy isn't so far fetched that it couldn't have been conceived elsewhere. But for now, we'll keep our focus on the quiet whispers of the Chinese imperial courts, where the parasol reigned supreme, offering not just shade, but a silent declaration of status, whispering secrets of power with every rustle of its silken fabric. It was less about keeping dry and more about keeping up appearances. As the gentle breeze of history carries us forward, the umbrella begins its slow, quiet transformation. You see, while the parasol's primary role was to ward off the sun's harsh glare, someone at some point had a brilliant, perhaps slightly damp, idea. What if, they might have mused, this lovely silk canopy could also protect us from the rain? This wasn't an immediate revelation, mind you. Imagine the cautious experiments: a slight drizzle, a quick unfurling, a hopeful glance upwards. The transition from pure sunshade to rain deflecting device was gradual, an evolution born of necessity and ingenuity. The materials had to adapt, of course. Silk, while beautiful, isn't exactly renowned for its waterproofing qualities. Early attempts might have involved oiled paper, lacquered fabrics, or even treated animal skins to create a more effective barrier against the heavens' tears. You can almost hear the sighs of relief, followed by the inevitable, "Oh dear, it's still dripping a bit here." The design also had to become sturdier, capable of withstanding gusts of wind without inverting itself like a startled jellyfish. Bamboo, already a versatile material in ancient China, played a crucial role in forming the ribs and handles, offering both flexibility and surprising strength. It's truly impressive when you consider the craftsmanship involved. Each slender piece of bamboo carefully carved, fitted, and lacquered, often by hand. It wasn't just an item, it was a small piece of functional art. One mainstream historical fact demonstrating this shift is the mention of umbrellas specifically for rain in the 1st century CE. Records from the Han Dynasty describe umbrellas being used in carriages to protect occupants from inclement weather. This isn't just a casual reference, it indicates a recognized function beyond mere shade. So, while you might have initially seen a noble being carried with their grand sunshade, you could now picture a traveler pulling out a more robust version to shield themselves from a sudden downpour, perhaps muttering about forgetting their waterproof sandals. For a quirky tidbit, consider the idea that some early rain umbrellas in China were actually designed to be quite noisy when opened or closed. This wasn't an oversight, it was intentional. The crisp, rustling sound of the oiled paper or treated fabric was sometimes considered a deterrent to evil spirits. So, if you were out strolling and a sudden squall hit, you weren't just deploying rain protection, you were essentially performing a minor exorcism. Be gone, foul spirits of wetness. And also, my hair is staying dry. It certainly adds a new dimension to a mundane act, doesn't it? Perhaps your modern umbrellas quiet efficiency is a sign of our less superstitious times. Or maybe we just don't want to startle anyone on the subway. Historians still argue whether the concept of a truly waterproof, fully collapsible umbrella originated solely with the Chinese, or if developments in other cultures, such as ancient Rome with their umbraculum, contributed to the overall evolution, while the Roman version was more of a large, fixed canopy. The very idea of a portable shade and shelter was clearly a concept explored by various civilizations. However, the evidence for a durable, personal, and easily deployable rain umbrella points most strongly to Chinese innovation. Imagine the brainstorming sessions. How can we make this silk stronger? Perhaps a dash of fish glue. No, no, too sticky. What about tung oil? The quiet determination to conquer the elements, one droplet at a time, is truly admirable, with the umbrella now proving its worth against both sun and rain in ancient China. Its next grand adventure was, inevitably, westward. You can almost feel the gentle swaying of camel caravans, laden not just with precious silks and exotic spices, but also, perhaps tucked carefully amongst them, the earliest versions of what would become the global umbrella, the Silk Road, that vast network of trade routes connecting East and West, served as the primary conduit for this quiet, unassuming invention. Imagine the sheer wonder of a Central Asian nomad accustomed to harsh sun and sudden dust storms, encountering a collapsible device that offered instant shade, or a Persian merchant, intrigued by its intricate design, seeing its potential beyond mere utility. This wasn't a sudden, dramatic introduction, but a slow, whispered diffusion. As goods and ideas moved along the ancient arteries of commerce, so too did the concept of the umbrella. It traveled from China through Central Asia, across Persia, and eventually, though very slowly, into the Mediterranean world. Each stop along the way saw local artisans and innovators adapting the design, perhaps using different woods, local fabrics, or incorporating regional aesthetic styles. It's a testament to the umbrella's fundamental practicality that its core function transcended vast cultural differences. You might have seen it first adorning a Chinese dignitary, then later a Persian noble. It was the same basic idea, but subtly reinterpreted through new eyes. One mainstream historical fact supporting this journey is the appearance of parasol like objects in ancient Egypt and Assyria, though these were generally large, fixed sunshades, often held by attendants. While not collapsible umbrellas in the Chinese sense, they show a shared human need for shade, and the concept of a portable canopy likely gained traction as trade routes opened up. It's fascinating to consider how the idea of personal shade traveled, evolving from a ceremonial object to a more practical tool. Think of it as a low-tech viral spread, long before the internet. For a quirky tidbit, some historians suggest that the spread of the umbrella along the Silk Road wasn't just about utility, but also about curiosity and exoticism. Imagine a Roman merchant encountering a Chinese umbrella for the first time. It would have been an object of immense fascination, perhaps displayed as a rare curiosity alongside gems and spices, rather than immediately recognized as a mundane necessity. Look, dear, it folds up, and it's from Cathay. Remarkable. It speaks to the human tendency to marvel at the new and different, even when it's something as simple as a portable roof. Historians still argue whether the umbrella's spread was a direct transfer of technology from China or if similar inventions arose independently in various regions. While the evidence for collapsible personal umbrellas points strongly to China as the origin point, the general concept of a portable sunshade or large canopy was clearly a widespread human need. It's hard to imagine, say, a Roman legionary spontaneously inventing a folding sunshade during a particularly brutal campaign in the desert. But the idea might have been spurred by observing similar devices carried by merchants from the East. Regardless, the journey was long, slow, and full of dusty footprints, bringing this quiet marvel to new lands, one step at a time. Now, as our quiet little umbrella makes its way further west, we arrive in Europe, where its reception was, to put it mildly, a bit damp. You'd think such a practical invention would be embraced with open arms, especially in places prone to sudden downpours. But no, the umbrella faced a surprising amount of skepticism, even outright derision, before finding its footing. Imagine bringing a strange, folding contraption to a society accustomed to capes and cloaks. What is that peculiar thing? They might have whispered, eyeing you with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. It wasn't an instant hit. It was more of a slow, awkward dance. The first documented appearances of umbrella like devices in Europe date back to ancient Greece and Rome. Here, too, they primarily served as sunshades, often carried by attendants for women of noble birth. Think of it as an early form of personal climate control for the very, very privileged. These Roman umbraculums were usually large, rigid, and cumbersome, requiring a servant to carry them. They weren't exactly something you'd tuck into your satchel for a casual stroll. You could argue they were more like mobile awnings than portable, personal accessories. The idea was there, but the execution was still miles away from the convenient folding marvel we know today. One mainstream historical fact is that the word umbrella itself is derived from the Latin word umbra, meaning shadow or shade. This etymological root firmly anchors its origins in sun protection, reinforcing that initial purpose even as its function evolved. So, next time you unfurl your umbrella in a downpour, remember its linguistic ancestors were more concerned with SPF than waterproofing. For a quirky tidbit, in early modern Europe, particularly during the Renaissance, umbrellas were often considered a feminine accessory, exclusively used by women and carried by male servants. A man carrying his own umbrella would have been seen as effeminate or even a bit ridiculous. It wasn't about practicality, it was about rigid social norms. You can almost hear the snickering in the town square. Look at Lord Reginald carrying his own parasol. What's next? A lace handkerchief? This social stigma played a huge role in its slow adoption by the male population. Historians still argue whether the concept of the truly foldable personal rain umbrella was independently reinvented in Europe, or if it was a direct, albeit slow, import from the East. While some early designs show similar principles, The sophistication of Chinese designs, particularly regarding the folding mechanism, suggests a clear influence. It's possible that vague descriptions or even rare examples of Eastern umbrellas sparked European artisans to try and recreate them, leading to a parallel, yet perhaps inspired, development. So, while you might think of a London gentleman with a brolly, it took centuries for that image to become commonplace, slowly battling both the elements and societal snobbery. Despite its initial chilly reception, the umbrella, much like a persistent drizzle, began to seep into the fabric of European society, particularly as a distinct marker of social status. You wouldn't just carry an umbrella, you displayed it. Imagine yourself in 17th or 18th century Paris or London, where the grandest ladies and gentlemen were keen to show off their wealth and refinement. A delicate, elaborately decorated parasol wasn't merely a practical item, it was a statement piece, an accessory that screamed, "I have arrived, and I have servants to carry my elaborate sunshade." These early European umbrellas were often incredibly opulent. We're talking silk canopies, ivory handles, intricate embroidery, and sometimes even jewels embedded in the framework. They were designed to be admired, to complement the elaborate fashions of the era, and to subtly, or not so subtly, announce your position in the social hierarchy. A well placed umbrella could elevate your entire ensemble, much like a designer handbag today. You certainly wouldn't see a common laborer strolling about with such a luxurious item. It was strictly for the upper echelons. It was the equivalent of saying, "Yes, I could get wet, but why would I when I have this masterpiece?" One mainstream historical fact highlighting this status symbol aspect is how portraits from the 17th and 18th centuries often feature individuals, particularly women, posed with elegant parasols. These weren't just props, they were integral parts of the composition, symbolizing gentility, leisure, and a life free from manual labor. Think of a grande dame reclining on a chaise lounge, a silk parasol artfully positioned to cast a flattering shadow across her face. It's less about blocking the sun and more about enhancing the aura. For a quirky tidbit, there were even specific umbrella carriers or parasol bearers employed by wealthy families. These were often liveried servants whose sole job was to follow their employer around, ready to deploy the shade at a moment's notice. Can you imagine that job description? Required ability to walk slowly, hold arms steady, and possess an excellent sense of impending sunshine. It really puts a new spin on the idea of a personal assistant. And heaven forbid you were late with the umbrella when the sun broke through the clouds. Historians still argue whether the functional aspects of the umbrella eventually outweighed its symbolic value, or if its practicality always remained secondary to its role as a fashion accessory and status marker in these early European days. While the utility of staying dry or shaded was undeniable, the sheer expense and elaborate nature of many early umbrellas suggest that display often trumped mere function. It wasn't until later, with the advent of more affordable and durable designs, that the umbrella truly democratized itself, moving from the exclusive clutches of the elite to the hands of the everyday person. But for a good few centuries, it was a quiet, elegant weapon in the arsenal of social climbing. And so, we arrive at a pivotal moment in the umbrella's European saga, a moment forever linked to a man named Jonas Hanway. You see, up until the mid 18th century, it was still considered rather unmanly for a gentleman to carry an umbrella in London. If it rained, a proper man either braved the elements or, more likely, hailed a hackney coach. The idea of a man protecting himself from a bit of precipitation with a folding canopy was seen as effeminate, weak, and frankly, a bit ridiculous. But then came Hanway, a fearless eccentric and a determined traveler who, having lived abroad, simply couldn't understand why the English gentlemen were so stubbornly resistant to such a practical device. Jonas Hanway, an English philanthropist and traveler, is widely credited as the first man in London to regularly carry an umbrella in public. Imagine the scene: a bustling London street, sudden rain, and amidst the scurrying figures, a lone gentleman calmly unfurling his umbrella. He was met with jeers, laughter, and even the occasional thrown refuse from hackney coachmen who saw his umbrella as a direct threat to their livelihood. After all, if everyone carried an umbrella, who would need a coach in the rain? Hanway endured this ridicule for decades, steadfastly using his umbrella for over 30 years, effectively shaming the city into acceptance, one dry stroll at a time. He was, in essence, the original umbrella man, proving that practicality could eventually triumph over prejudice. He probably thought, fine, laugh all you want, but I'm not getting pneumonia. One mainstream historical fact is that Jonas Hanway began this courageous act around 1750, a date often cited as the turning point for male umbrella adoption in Britain. His persistence slowly chipped away at the ingrained social norms, paving the way for the umbrella to become an acceptable and eventually indispensable accessory for men. Before Hanway, if you saw a man with an umbrella, you might assume he was either very sickly or very, very strange. After Hanway, you just assumed he was sensible. For a quirky tidbit, Hanway was not just an umbrella enthusiast, he was also famous for his opposition to tea drinking, believing it made people soft and lazy. He campaigned vigorously against it, which, when you think about it, makes his umbrella advocacy even more ironic. He was promoting a practical convenience while railing against a beloved beverage. Perhaps he thought tea drinkers were too delicate to brave the rain without one. No tea for you, but here, have a nice dry head. Historians still argue whether Hanway's individual actions were truly the sole catalyst for the umbrella's male adoption, or if broader social shifts and increasing practicality would have led to its acceptance anyway. While his role is undeniably significant and iconic, it's possible he was simply ahead of a societal curve that was already bending towards more sensible attire. Regardless, his legacy as the defiant umbrella man who faced down ridicule with stoic dryness remains a delightful footnote in the history of everyday objects. So next time you see a man with an umbrella, give a little silent nod to Jonas Hanway, the man who made it okay. With Jonas Hanway bravely paving the way, the umbrella truly began its march toward widespread acceptance, culminating in a period of intense innovation during the Victorian era. You see, the 19th century was a time of rapid industrialization and burgeoning middle classes. People were on the move, urban centers were growing, and a reliable, easily portable rain protection became less of a luxury and more of a genuine necessity. Imagine yourself navigating the foggy, often drizzly streets of London or Manchester in the 1800s. A sturdy, functional umbrella would have been as essential as your bowler hat or bonnet. The major breakthrough was the widespread adoption of steel ribs for the umbrella's frame. Before this, most frames were made of whalebone or cane, which were either too heavy, too brittle, or simply too expensive for mass production. The introduction of steel, a stronger and more pliable material, allowed for lighter, more durable, and more compact designs. This meant umbrellas could be made smaller when closed, making them genuinely portable for the first time. No longer did you need a small team or a large carriage to transport your rain gear. You could simply tuck it under your arm or hang it by the door. This was the moment the umbrella truly shed its aristocratic skin and became a democratic tool for all. One mainstream historical fact from this period is the patenting of the first truly collapsible umbrella frame by Samuel Fox in 1852. Fox, a British inventor, developed a paragon frame with U-shaped steel ribs, significantly improving the strength and ease of folding. This invention revolutionized umbrella manufacturing, making them more robust and affordable than ever before. So, next time you effortlessly collapse your umbrella with a satisfying click, give a silent nod to Mr. Fox and his steel-ribbed revolution. For a quirky tidbit, the Victorian era also saw the rise of the umbrella stand in entryways, a dedicated piece of furniture that became as ubiquitous as the coat rack. It wasn't just about storage, it was a subtle display of practicality and preparedness. Imagine visiting a Victorian home and seeing a grand, ornate umbrella stand, perhaps even with a built in drip tray. It said, "We are a household that is ready for anything Mother Nature throws at us, and we do it with style." It also prevented puddles, which was probably the real selling point. Historians still argue whether the functional improvements of the Victorian umbrella were driven primarily by industrial capability or by a growing public demand for convenience and practicality in an increasingly mobile society. While the technological advancements in steel production certainly made better umbrellas possible, the shift in lifestyle, with more people commuting and engaging in outdoor activities, likely fueled the demand for more efficient rain protection. It was a perfect storm of supply and demand, leading to the golden age of the practical umbrella. As the umbrella became a more ubiquitous and useful tool in Victorian society, it naturally began to accumulate its own peculiar set of rules and superstitions. You see, when an object moves from a rare curiosity to an everyday presence, people inevitably start attaching meaning and often a bit of irrational fear to it. Imagine yourself in a crowded Victorian drawing room, trying desperately not to commit a social faux pas with your newly acquired brawly. It wasn't just about staying dry, it was about knowing the unspoken laws of the umbrella. One of the most famous and still lingering superstitions is that it's bad luck to open an umbrella indoors. This belief is so pervasive that even today, many people instinctively flinch at the sight of an open umbrella in a hallway. The origins of this are debated. Some theories suggest it stems from the practical hazard of poking someone in the eye or knocking over delicate items in a confined space. Another, more charming theory posits that early umbrellas, being large and unwieldy, were associated with bringing the outside, and thus bad weather or ill fortune, indoors. Or perhaps it was simply a nuisance, and someone exasperated by a dripping umbrella in their parlor declared it bad luck to discourage the practice. It's a bit like spilling salt, isn't it? Just don't do it. One mainstream historical fact supporting the widespread nature of these beliefs is the sheer volume of anecdotal evidence and references in Victorian literature and etiquette guides. These texts often detailed specific rules for umbrella use, from how to properly carry one, closed, point down, never swinging, to the unwritten taboos. It was an entire subculture of umbrella decorum. You could tell a lot about a person by how they handled their umbrella, apparently. For a quirky tidbit, some superstitions extended to where an umbrella should be placed when not in use. It was considered particularly unlucky to lay an open umbrella on a bed, as it was thought to invite illness or even death. This might have stemmed from the practice of covering the sick or deceased with cloths, associating an open canopy shape with shrouds. So, next time you're tempted to air out your damp umbrella on your duvet, remember the Victorian chill running down your spine. Perhaps a dedicated umbrella stand. Remember those from Section 7? Was a practical solution to both drips and doom. Historians still argue whether these superstitions arose organically from practical concerns that became exaggerated over time, or if they were deliberately cultivated as part of social control, teaching people to be mindful of their surroundings and respectful of others' space. It's likely a blend of both. A good bad luck story certainly gets the point across more effectively than a polite request to please not poke grandmama in the eye with your newfangled rain protector. The umbrella, in its quiet way, became a repository for both utility and delightful, illogical anxieties. Beyond its role in keeping you dry or simply looking fashionable, the humble umbrella has also played a surprisingly dramatic part in history, serving as a rather ingenious tool in the worlds of espionage and even assassination. You wouldn't think such a seemingly innocuous item could be weaponized, but you'd be mistaken. Imagine yourself as a shadowy figure in a dimly lit alley, not reaching for a pistol, but for a seemingly innocent umbrella, its tip concealing a deadly secret. It's a quiet testament to human ingenuity, for better or for worse. One of the most famous and chilling instances of the umbrella as a weapon involves the assassination of Bulgarian dissident writer Georgy Markov in London in 1978. Markov was waiting for a bus near Waterloo Bridge when he felt a sharp sting in his thighs. He looked around to see a man pick up an umbrella he had dropped and then hail a taxi. Markov later developed a high fever and died, and the autopsy revealed a tiny platinum iridium pellet embedded in his leg, coated with ricin, a highly potent poison. The umbrella gun became infamous, a silent, almost undetectable delivery system for a deadly toxin. It's the kind of thing that makes you eye every innocent-looking brawly with a newfound suspicion. One mainstream historical fact here is the sheer audacity and technical sophistication of the Bulgarian umbrella used in the Markov assassination. This wasn't just a crude weapon, it was a specially engineered device designed to fire the pellet silently and precisely without drawing attention. It highlighted the chilling creativity that can be applied to everyday objects in the world of covert operations. For a quirky tidbit, while the Markov case is the most notorious, there have been other, less successful, attempts or alleged uses of umbrellas in espionage. Some Cold War era spy agencies were rumored to experiment with similar devices, perhaps for delivering tranquilizers or tracking devices. You could imagine a spy trying to look inconspicuous, perhaps muttering, just admiring the architecture, definitely not preparing to tag that diplomat with my cleverly disguised rain deflector. It adds a certain cinematic flair to a rainy day. Historians still argue whether the Bulgarian umbrella was an isolated, highly specific invention, or if similar weaponized domestic items were more widely developed and deployed by various intelligence agencies during the Cold War. While the Markov case remains unique in its public infamy, the very possibility suggests a shadowy world where anything, even an umbrella, could become a tool of covert power. It serves as a stark reminder that sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones you least expect. From the shadows of espionage, our gentle journey with the umbrella now shifts to the softer, yet equally impactful, realms of art and literature. You see, the umbrella, once a mere utility, gradually transformed into a powerful motif, a silent character in countless stories, paintings, and films. Imagine a rain-slicked street in a classic noir film, a mysterious figure half hidden by a dark umbrella, or a joyful, dancing couple twirling under a vibrant one in a musical. It's amazing how this simple object can evoke such a range of emotions and narratives. In art, the umbrella has often been used to define a mood, delineate character, or even provide a splash of color against a drab background. Think of Gustave Caillebott's Paris Street, Rainy Day, where umbrellas are central to creating the quintessential Parisian atmosphere, shielding well-dressed figures as they stroll across a wet cobblestone square, or Georges Seurat's A Sunday Afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte, where the parasols punctuate the leisurely scene, adding to the sense of calm and dappled light. The umbrella becomes more than just a prop. It's an element of the scene, a quiet observer of human life. It adds to the ambiance, almost like a subtle piece of background music. One mainstream historical fact demonstrating its artistic prominence is its frequent appearance in Impressionist paintings. Artists like Claude Monet and Pierre-Auguste Renoir often depicted outdoor scenes, and the umbrella or parasol was a natural inclusion, allowing them to play with light, shadow, and the changing effects of weather. These paintings immortalize the umbrella as a symbol of leisure, urban life, and the fleeting beauty of a moment. For a quirky tidbit, the umbrella has also been used humorously in art, sometimes as a symbol of British stoicism or a character's particular quirks. Think of cartoon characters using an umbrella for unexpected purposes, like Mary Poppins flying with hers, or a detective using it to deflect a blow in a comical chase scene. It has a certain visual shorthand that audiences instantly recognize, perhaps because it's such an everyday object. Just your average flying nanny, nothing to see here. Move along. Historians still argue whether the umbrella's widespread integration into art and literature simply reflects its increasing ubiquity in daily life, or if its inherent form and function lent themselves particularly well to symbolic representation. Was it chosen by artists because it was common, or because it offered unique narrative possibilities? A shield, a secret, a sign of refinement, or even a weapon? It's likely a bit of both. Its quiet presence allows it to seamlessly blend into a scene while also having the potential to hold deeper meaning if the artist so chooses. As the 20th century dawned and progressed, the umbrella, having conquered social stigma and artistic canvases, entered a new phase: mass production. You see, the innovations of the Victorian era, particularly steel ribs and improved folding mechanisms, laid the groundwork for umbrellas to become truly affordable and widely accessible. No longer a luxury item or a symbol of status, it became a common household accessory, a ubiquitous item found in every entryway and car trunk. Imagine the sheer volume of umbrellas now being churned out in factories, each one a testament to efficiency and practicality. The key to this transformation was industrialization. Factories could produce components in vast quantities, and assembly lines streamlined the manufacturing process. This drastically reduced the cost per unit, making umbrellas available to everyone from the factory worker to the busy city clerk. It was a quiet revolution, ensuring that rain protection was no longer a privilege of the elite, but a basic human right, or at least a basic human convenience. This shift meant you could grab a cheap umbrella from a street vendor on a sudden rainy day rather than having to commission a custom made silk parasol. One mainstream historical fact is the emergence of large scale umbrella manufacturers in the early to mid 20th century. Companies like Totes, founded in 1924, though they started with rainwear, and others began specializing in umbrella production, using new materials and streamlined processes to meet the exploding demand. This was the era where the umbrella truly became a commodity, a familiar sight in every town and city. For a quirky tidbit, the early 20th century also saw the rise of cheap, promotional umbrellas. Businesses would print their logos on umbrellas and hand them out, turning a practical item into a walking advertisement. So, you might have seen someone strolling down the street, unknowingly endorsing a local bakery or a new brand of soap, all while staying dry. It's a subtle form of advertising that still exists today, proving the umbrella's enduring appeal as a useful giveaway. Thanks for the umbrella. I guess I do need more flour. Historians still argue whether this era of mass production led to a loss of the umbrella's artistic or symbolic value, reducing it to a purely functional object, or if its newfound accessibility simply broadened its societal reach. While it certainly lost some of its exotic allure, its practical impact grew exponentially, touching more lives and providing comfort to millions during inclement weather. It was a quiet triumph of engineering and commerce, making sure everyone could have a little portable roof over their head. Having achieved mass production, the umbrella's story doesn't end there. It continues to evolve, driven by a constant quest for better design and materials. You see, while the basic concept of a folding canopy remains the same, manufacturers and designers are always looking for ways to make umbrellas lighter, stronger, more compact, and more resistant to those infuriating gusts of wind that seem to delight in turning them inside out. Imagine the sheer variety available today, from tiny, purse sized travel umbrellas to golf umbrellas that could practically shelter a small family. The shift from traditional materials like bamboo and wood to modern innovations like fiberglass, aluminum, and even carbon fiber has been transformative. Fiberglass ribs, for instance, are incredibly flexible and resistant to breaking, meaning your umbrella is much more likely to bend and pop back into shape rather than snap in a strong wind. Aluminum makes for incredibly lightweight frames, perfect for those compact models you can barely feel in your bag. And carbon fiber, while pricier, offers unparalleled strength and durability, making for umbrellas that feel almost indestructible. It's a quiet arms race against the elements, and new materials are the secret weapons. One mainstream historical fact in this ongoing evolution is the invention of the telescopic umbrella in the mid 20th century, which allowed the shaft to collapse into multiple sections, making the umbrella significantly shorter and more portable when closed. This was a game changer for urban commuters and travelers, truly cementing the umbrella's role as an everyday carry item. No more cumbersome, full length walking stick style umbrellas to contend with on a crowded bus. For a quirky tidbit, some modern umbrella designs have even experimented with inverted opening mechanisms. These umbrellas open and close in reverse, so the wet side folds inwards, preventing drips and keeping you and your car or floor drier. It's a simple yet surprisingly clever solution to a common annoyance. You might think, why didn't they think of that sooner? But sometimes the most elegant solutions are the ones that take the longest to appear. Historians still argue whether the primary driver for these continuous design innovations is genuine consumer need for improved performance, or if it's partly fueled by a desire for novelty and differentiation in a highly saturated market. While nobody likes a flimsy umbrella, the sheer variety of colors, patterns, and niche features suggests that aesthetics and personal preference play a significant role alongside pure utility. Regardless, the humble umbrella continues to adapt, reflecting our ever changing needs and desires for convenience and resilience. Beyond its practical function and evolving design, the umbrella holds a surprisingly rich tapestry of meaning in various cultural variations and rituals around the world. You see, an object so universally recognized often picks up local flavors, traditions, and symbolic weight, making it far more than just a rain shield. Imagine stepping into a different country and seeing the umbrella used not just for weather, but for celebration, protection, or even spiritual connection. In many parts of Southeast Asia, particularly in countries like Thailand, Cambodia, and Myanmar, elaborately decorated parasols are integral to religious ceremonies and royal processions. These aren't your everyday rain umbrellas. They are often massive, multi-tiered canopies, adorned with gold leaf, intricate carvings, and vibrant silks. They signify royalty, religious sanctity, and protection from evil influences. When you witness a procession with these majestic parasols swaying gently, you realize you're looking at centuries of tradition held aloft. It's a truly breathtaking display, far removed from just dodging a puddle. One mainstream historical fact demonstrating this cultural significance is the traditional Burmese multi-tiered umbrella, or HTI, which crowns pagodas and temples. Each tier can symbolize different levels of Buddhist cosmology or states of spiritual enlightenment. It's not simply a decorative cap, it's a sacred element embodying a profound spiritual meaning that resonates deeply within the culture. For a quirky tidbit, in some African cultures, the umbrella can be a powerful symbol of chieftainship or community leadership. A chief might carry a specific type of umbrella or have one held over him, not just for sun protection, but as a visual representation of his authority and his role as protector of his people. It's a bit like a royal scepter, but perhaps more practical for a sunny day. Yes, I am the chief, and also I'm comfortable. Historians still argue whether the universal appeal of the umbrella's basic form, a portable canopy, led independently to similar symbolic interpretations across diverse cultures, or if the spread of ideas via trade and interaction facilitated these shared meanings. While the utility of shade or rain protection is universal, the specific cultural rituals and symbolic weight attached to the umbrella often reflect unique historical and spiritual beliefs, making each instance a fascinating blend of practicality and profound cultural expression. So, what does the future hold for our quiet, unassuming friend, the umbrella? You might think it's reached its peak, a fully optimized device with nowhere left to go. But like all good innovations, the umbrella continues to adapt, embracing new technologies and confronting modern challenges like sustainability and connectivity. Imagine an umbrella that tells you it's about to rain, or one made entirely from recycled ocean plastic. The evolution is subtle, but ever present. One of the most exciting areas of development is the rise of smart umbrellas. These aren't just for keeping you dry, they're designed to connect with your smartphone. Many now feature Bluetooth connectivity, allowing them to communicate with weather apps. Your smart umbrella might vibrate or light up to remind you to take it with you if rain is in the forecast. Some even have GPS tracking, so if you're prone to leaving your umbrella behind in a coffee shop, and let's be honest, who isn't? You can track its location. It's almost like having a tiny, weather-aware personal assistant, all tucked away in your bag. Don't forget me. It's going to sprinkle on your drive home. Another significant trend is the focus on sustainability. With growing environmental awareness, manufacturers are exploring ways to make umbrellas more eco-friendly. This includes using recycled materials for both the canopy fabric and the frame, designing for greater durability to reduce waste, and even creating easily repairable models. Imagine an umbrella made from repurposed plastic bottles or one with interchangeable parts, so you can simply replace a broken rib instead of buying a whole new umbrella. It's a quiet but important push towards a greener future, even for something as simple as rain protection. One mainstream historical fact that highlights this future focus is the increasing number of patents being filed for umbrella designs that integrate electronics or novel materials. This indicates a clear industry trend towards technological enhancement and environmental responsibility, pushing the boundaries of what an umbrella can be. For a quirky tidbit, some futuristic concepts for umbrellas even include integrated solar panels to charge your devices while you walk, or tiny sensors that measure air quality. While these might still be niche or experimental, they show the imaginative scope of how a traditional object can be re envisioned for the 21st century. Imagine charging your phone on a sunny walk, all thanks to your clever umbrella. Historians still argue whether the future of the umbrella will be defined by radical technological integration, making it a truly smart device, or if its core value will remain its simple, reliable functionality, with sustainability being the primary area of significant innovation. Perhaps it will be a blend of both, with different umbrellas catering to different needs, a high-tech marvel for the gadget enthusiast and a durable, eco-friendly classic for everyone else. Either way, the umbrella's story is far from over. As our long, gentle journey through the history of the umbrella draws to a close, it's a perfect moment to reflect on the quiet yet truly remarkable legacy of this humble object. You've seen it evolve from an ancient symbol of status in China to a practical tool for rain and sun, journeying across continents, inspiring art, and even playing a role in covert operations. Imagine all the hands it has passed through, all the stories it could tell, if only it could speak. The umbrella, in its essence, is a testament to human ingenuity and our persistent desire for comfort and protection. It began as a grand, ceremonial parasol, shielding emperors and nobles from the sun's demanding gaze, a silent proclamation of their elevated position. Then, through clever adaptation and material innovation, it quietly transformed, learning to ward off the rain, becoming a trusty companion against the elements. Its slow march westward faced skepticism, yes, but eventually practicality won out, thanks to the sheer persistence of characters like Jonas Hanway, who simply refused to be rained upon without reason. From whalebone to steel, from cumbersome contraptions to sleek, compact designs, the umbrella has continuously adapted, always striving for better performance. It settled into daily life, becoming a quiet, almost invisible fixture in our homes and routines, only noticed when the skies turn gray. Yet, it continued to inspire, popping up in classic paintings, offering a splash of realism or a touch of whimsy. And in the shadowy world of espionage, it proved that even the most innocent of objects could hide a dangerous secret, reminding us that appearances can be deceiving. Now, as you settle deeper into your sleep, perhaps you'll find yourself thinking of the umbrella in a new light. It's more than just a canopy on a stick. It's a quiet chronicler of history, a small piece of human progress that has patiently weathered centuries of change. It reminds us that even the simplest inventions can have profound and far reaching impacts, shaping not just our daily lives, but our cultures, our art, and even our understanding of the world. So, the next time you hear the gentle patter of rain, or feel the warm caress of the sun, remember the surprising story of this silent protector, ever present, ever evolving.